Hey, welcome back to Spellbound. I'm BJ, also known at work as Brittany Jean the Pirate Queen. That's 100% true. When I was an intern 10 years ago, the on-site actress named Sheila named me Brittany Jean the Pirate Queen, and they still to this day call me that. I have not worked there continuously for the past 10 years. I do want to say that I was recently hired back like a year and a half ago at the place where I interned 10 years ago. I feel like that's relevant. It isn't, in fact, but what is relevant is that they do know that anytime that there is a request for a script that is pirate-themed, a pirate-themed event coming through, they're like, oh, BJ, Brittany Jean the Pirate Queen, needs to work on it. So I do love pirates. It's very true. I love all things pirates. Like, I genuinely love pirates, but my favorite thing of all about pirates is books about pirates because I love books. So anyways, this is a Swashbuckling Summer TBR with books, half of these about I have read, and then half of these are pirate books that are on my own TBR. So let's dive right in and talk about them together. So we're going to start with the absolute classic. This is where you start when you start reading books about pirates. You just have to. It's canon. This is Treasure Island by Robert Louis Stevenson. I'm a big fan of books by Robert Louis Stevenson because they're so adventure-y. They're adventurous, right? And they're fun and they have fun characters. Now, Robert Louis Stevenson was a romantic, he wrote romantic literature. That does not mean that it has romance. Romantic in this sense, and a literature sense, means that it's more plot than character. It means that the plot happens to our character. So what does that mean? For this, it just means this is a plot-heavy book. This is an adventurous book. Listen, I can't afford to go on a tangent already. This video just started. We're on book 1. But there's no reason to defend the canon as it is now, right? Because it's always books written by dead white men, okay? And the Western canon should change. But the reason why you don't throw the baby out with the bathwater, the reason why you don't dismiss what currently exists in the Western canon is because it makes everything that follows it so much richer. It's not because there's anything in this book that is inherently superior to other things, which is why the Western canon needs to grow, expand, and change and not be so fucking white. But you understand that because it was and is canon, it laid the groundwork for everything that followed. So it makes this world of literature so much richer when you understand where did this idea originate? Where did this concept originate? Where did this X marks the spot thing come from? It came from this guy, right? And so that's fun. That's fun to know, and it's fun to discover. Naming conventions of pirates came from this guy, but they also came from this guy's bestie, his very BFF, Bert and Ernie in a Bathtub. You know who that was? Jay and Barry, who wrote he's not my favorite author, but he wrote my favorite book, Peter Pan. Peter and Wendy, technically. So anyways, they swapped a lot of letters back and forth. This guy is the one who came up with the term second star to right, in fact, and one of his letters to Barry, because they were besties. So there's a lot of additional lore around Robert Louis Stevenson and around this book in particular that we just don't have time to dive into. But like I said, this is canon for a reason. This is classic romantic literature, and this is just a jolly good pirate time. Additionally, if you're a big fan and you're like, I've already read Treasure Island BEEJ, what else have you got? Have you ever seen Black Sails on Stars? If not, you should, because it's my favorite TV show besides Lizzie McGuire of all time, forever and ever, amen. It is Michael Bay produced, so it's incredibly violent. There's an explosion every episode, and it's about pirates. Specifically, it's about not just the pirates of this book, it's about the origin of the pirates of this book. But what I love about Black Sails as a show and as a story is that they don't do anything that would disrupt or change the canon of this story. That's fantastic. And so in this book, immediately in chapter 1, you're introduced to the protagonist and you're introduced to the antagonist, immediately off the bat. You're introduced to him immediately off the bat as the sea cook, and you're not really sure why. But it's referring to Long John Silver, who is the antagonist of this book and a very scary pirate. And when it describes him, it literally says the only pirate of whom the legendary or fearsome whomever Captain Flint was afeared. The only guy that the most fearsome pirate in this world's history was ever scared of is this guy, Long John Silver. But the character of Captain Flint is not in this book. He's just notorious. He's legendary. He's the biggest baddie of them all. And so the story of Black Sails is about Captain Flint. And it's about when he first meets a rugged old sea cook. And I don't mean old, he's a young kid at this point, and he meets Long John Silver. And that's what the story of Black Sails is about. And I can geek out about that in my own video. Like, for a long time, I can like pop off about Black Sails, but that's not why we're here. This was supposed to be so quick. Treasure Island by Robert Louis Stevenson. Next is a book that is clearly well loved, the unfortunately named Pirates by Celia Reese. Now, Celia Reese is a very early 2000s YA writer who has won many awards for different things. She likes to write historical type stories. They're definitely for girls. And I don't mean that because her books are feminine. Her books are not feminine, but they are like stories about young girls and stories that young angsty girls would relate to. So I read this book when I was in the 6th or 7th grade, and I was immediately obsessed with it. I have read this book a lot. It has come apart. Love this book. I love this book so much. BEEJ, what's it about? Thank you so much for keeping me on track. This is about a girl whose dad dies, and so she's an heiress to like a fortune kind of, but unfortunately her brothers don't like give a shit about her, and her brothers who take over the estate are like, cool, you're what, like 14? It's time for you to get married off. So they go to marry her off to the owner, overseer, manager, whatever, of a sugar plantation in Brazil. And he's obviously a horrible isn't enough. Like, he's obviously an evil man. A, because he's a plantation owner, full stop. But also B, he is, as a character, just like horrific. I think maybe she ends up going to the plantation and she's miserable, obviously. I don't think they ever get married, but she has to stay there. He didn't want to marry her yet. I do remember this detail because she was too tan, and she had become too tan from like the voyage, and he was like, no, I need you to be nice and pale like my sister. But there was a young woman who she befriended on the plantation who was enslaved, and she obviously had dreams, her friend Minerva, of going back home to where she's from. It's from an island in the Caribbean. The girl Nancy's like, well, I want to run away. Do you want to run away together? And so they do. And so they both run away and like become pirates. And I think that they join a crew and they do some pirating for a while, but all while Nancy is like on a mission to get her bestie, Minerva, back to her mom. I remember it as being a really fun story. I remember it as being not like epic quest in the way that like a fairy tale or like a fantasy is an epic quest. You know, it felt very historical in the way that like it's not a fantastical quest. It's a pirate adventure though. And it had lots of locations, which I enjoyed for whatever reason. And I just remembered loving the friendship between these two, and also the scary tension. They did such a good job of making really rich villains in this. They're not rich villains in the way that like a middle grade is a rich villain because they're fake. He was a rich villain because this is real. All I can speak for is how much I have loved this book, and how much because this is such a historical book that obviously has at the forefront of the book racial dynamics and racial tension. I want to make sure that like this is a full chest endorsement and a modern day endorsement. And so because I can't make that yet, I do want to make that disclaimer that I haven't read this with the knowledge and perspective that I have now. But I do hope that it ages well, because I love this book very much, and I loved their friendship and their adventure. And it was so tense. The book was so tense through the whole thing. It was a proper pirate adventure. Black Hearts, and then its sequel, Black Souls. Now this is a proper romance. This is a romance between Edward Teach, so Blackbeard, and Anne. So yeah, this is like a pirate romance, but not like a YA, like, ooh, steamy. It's not what you're thinking. It's much more historical than what you're thinking, and it's much more adventurous than you're thinking, and kind of dramatic and like drama, you know, like this would be like a mini-series TV show. I don't think I was clear. Anyways, so I enjoyed it because I liked the aesthetic of it. I think that if you didn't already love pirates or have something in here that you specifically wanted, I think you might have felt that it fell short in one area. Like if it was trying to be a romance, there was too much else going on for it to be just a romance. If you wanted just a historical novel, it was too piratey to be able to focus. And if you wanted just like drama and tension, then it's like, then why do they gotta be pirates? So I think you just genuinely have to like a lot of the things in it to stay invested and like want to read it. But if you do like pirates, if you do like Blackbeard, if you do like historical romances that aren't Regency, then you're gonna like this book. You know, this has enough of those things. That's like, what a fun Venn diagram of things that I enjoy. But as like one of those things, it might not do what you want it to do. Regardless, I enjoyed it tremendously and I do recommend it. Daughter of the Deep by Lena C. Amarego, which Lena C. Amarego already sounds like a very piratey mermaid name. Recently, Rick Riordan published a book, or his imprint published a book called Daughter of the Deep. So I don't want you to get those two confused. This is not the Rick Riordan book. This is I think that it's YA. And I think it might even be indie published YA, which great, we love to see it. But yeah, this is about a girl who, there's like a blood feud between this girl and her pirate clan lineage or something. She's about to get cursed, or her family's about to get cursed unless she marries her father's alleged killer, the sea snake Ronan Nathanwe. Anyway, it's either do that or curse her family to the deep, and I don't know what that means, but I want to. Now, this thing right up here, it says The Children of Lear Book 1. That's never a good sign, you know, in my opinion, because how many books are in this series? I always get intimidated whenever it says like book 1 of a thing, right? Because I'm like, oh, what level of commitment is this? I don't know if I can emotionally invest yet. You know, those things, they're scary to me. It says it's filled with mystery, betrayal, and snarky romance. One high seas adventure you won't want to miss. Because this is indie, I have no way of knowing, like, if this is YA or if this is like a KU romance that I just happen to have a physical copy of. I don't know. I don't remember. I don't remember the context in which I got this. I don't remember when I got this. Anyway, so I have no idea what to expect from this book. If you do, if you've read this, if you've heard of this, please let me know, like, what it's about, what I should be expecting. But otherwise, let's read this together and find out. Fable by Adrienne Young. This is the first in a duology, but then there's also a companion novel called something Legacy, Lost Legacy, Last Legacy, perhaps. I don't know. So this is about the daughter of one of the most powerful traders in the Narrows. And I don't know what that means, but in context, I don't know if he's a pirate, but he's like some kind of a ship trader. Her mom dies, I think she drowns, which sucks. And so her dad's like deuces and drops her off on an island and is just like figured out, like I think with very little food, and I think it's like a thievery kind of island. So what I'm assuming happens is she like teams up with the thieves and they're like, let's go be pirates. And so she does, and maybe even takes revenge out on her dad, or maybe she's just like, see dad, I can prove myself. I don't know. It sounds like it has like a lot of daddy issues in this one. But it sounds like it has like daddy issues with a pirate twist, which like half of these have, you know? And so this was everywhere for a minute, and then I didn't hear anything else about it. I saw that it had mixed reviews, but what I will say is that the people who didn't love this one are like the really heavy romantic-y girlies. And I think like I didn't get a whole lot of romance from this. I think that there might be a romance in there. Sorry, well, I just move around in front of you, but like I think that there might be romance in this book, but I'm not getting a whole lot of romance just from like the setup of this. So I think everyone was just really disappointed because like this is right when romanticy was really taking off, and this is clearly like YA. So this is gonna be a coming of age story above all. I want to know, like, once and for all, is this my vibe? Am I gonna like this? I'm definitely like moving on from YA in general, especially when it comes to fantasy. So we'll see. I'm curious. What's your take on this? Like, I have to know. I only know what I saw years ago when this book was everywhere, you know, but I haven't heard anyone be like, oh, I picked this book up and, you know, so let me know. Crossbones by Kimberly Vale. This one sounds so intense. 2 captains, 1 stowaway, 1 heart-stopping competition for the island throne. Dark tides are rising. Only one will wear the bone crown. So this feels like the convention and the setup of a deadly competition, right? Like it's what it says. It's for like the pirate king. So think I'm not going to use the term Hunger Games because that's way overused. And also very few competition books, especially like YA or fantasy competitions anymore, are Hunger Games. Like just stop calling them that. Like that's not the name of the trope. It's a competition trope. And I don't hate it. I'm picky about it, but when it's done well, it's really, really fun. And it's like, it's high stakes in a way that due to the nature of the trope, it inherently has high stakes. And so that makes it a really fun read, usually once. I don't usually like keep them after. Like that's specifically why I enjoyed Fourth Wing. Fourth Wing now wouldn't be marketed as a competition trope, but that's what the convention and what the plot structure was for the first Fourth Wing. That's why I enjoyed it so much. It's a whole bunch of these people competing to be in Dragon Riders College. This is not about Fourth Wing. This is this. So it's that trope. It's that setup. It's a deadly, intense to the death competition, but make it pirates. Hell yeah, I'm in. I'm invested. I've got to know. And also the sickest cover ever. Like, come on. Another pirate recommendation is The Mermaid, the Witch, and the Sea by Maggie Takuta Hall, which, despite the misleading title, is in fact about pirates. It's about this girl, Evelyn, who is basically sold into marriage, sold into wedlock. But while she's on the voyage to her new home and fate, her ship is overtaken by pirates. And so she meets the pirate Florian. The two of them like have a romance together, and then they kind of just veer off and do their own thing. And they have their own epic quests to accomplish. They have their own journeys to take. And it's a really, really awesome story. I talked about it a lot just recently, so I won't like go too far into it, but I do know that like I did read this book and I genuinely, genuinely loved it. It is a cut above everything else. It's won so many awards, this book has, which means already it's literary. It's going to be more elevated language than your accessible pirate story, certainly than the last three that I've talked about. This is written much more elevated, has more elevated language and a more of an elevated plot structure in its narration style. So I would like check that going in. This isn't going to be the same type of swashbuckling. This is also an intense emotional journey about these two characters. This is 100% a character-driven story, and it is epic and fantastic, and I absolutely recommend it. And finally, I could not finish a Swashbuckling Summer TBR without talking about Daughter of the Pirate King by Trisha Levenseller. This is your quintessential YA pirate story. This is fantastic. This is about Alosa. She is, as you would have assumed, the daughter of the Pirate King. So she's like a pirate princess and takes that shit personally. She loves being feminine. She loves, like, she wouldn't call herself a princess, but she is hyper feminine and a hyper badass. She's very violent as a character. It's why she is my favorite YA protagonist that I have ever read. She is the captain of her all-women pirate crew, and she is fearsome. Yeah, and so is her dad, who's legendary, but this is definitely a pirate story with daddy issues. Like, that's the whole thing. I think telling you what the plot is about kind of spoils it a little bit. That's all I want to tell you, because you just have to experience this for yourself. But this is Trisha Levenseller, and this is actually her debut, which was incredible. But because it's Levenseller, her books are extremely accessible in their language, and they read really, really fast. So you're not gonna know what the book's about as soon as you start, but like you're gonna be put into the path of the book immediately. It's not like read it and find out. It's very atmospheric. It's not. It's a pirate story. It's a swashbuckling good time. There's lots of violence in this book, but in like a really fun YA way. The whole book is fun, and I can't recommend it enough. This is one of my favorite books of all time because it's just so much fun, and it's so very piratey. So I recommend it with my whole heart. So I have no idea how many books that was. I have no idea how many books I just talked at you about, but I love pirates. I love books about pirates, and like literally just talking about these books makes me want to read them all right now. Like right now I need to know what all these books are about, and I want to be in these worlds, and I want to be sailing the high seas via books. Thank you so much for sticking around. I want to know what you're getting up to this summer. I want to know what you're reading. I definitely want to know if you're reading any pirate books, or if you ever have read any pirate books and liked those books. I want you to talk at me about those books in the comments. Like, just pop off about what you did or didn't like about any pirate books that you've ever read, or honestly any books that you're reading right now. I just want to know. Just talk to me about books, you know? And as always, take care, drink your water, fight fascism, and happy reading.